Welcome to Rewatch or Return, the podcast where we put movies through the ultimate test across 10 universal categories to decide, does it call for a definite rewatch, a definite trip to the return bin, or does our subjectivity cause it to fall somewhere in between? This week we're going to look at How to Train Your Dragon 2010, the animated film, the original. We are still hanging with that anniversary theme. This is 15 years old this year, but we're cutting that in half. We're not going back to more 30-year-old films. We'll get back to those maybe at another time. But I noticed as I sat down to record this, for those of you watching the video podcast, I think I might have had this shirt on last time I recorded an episode. And if you're noticing that, you probably noticed that there's some glasses on my face now, because this is a new development in my life. So there you go. I'm getting older and I now have vision problems. But moving right along with How to Train Your Dragon 2010, let's get right into fast forward facts. Grab your saddle, mount your Night Fury, and let's fly through some fast facts about How to Train Your Dragon, the 2010 animated fantasy that soared straight into our hearts and launched one of the most respected animated franchises of the 21st century. Released by DreamWorks Animation and directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois, yeah, the duo behind Lilo and Stitch. This adaptation of Christina Cowell's children's book became an instant classic. While the book is more whimsical and humorous, the film took a more emotionally grounded approach, blending Viking mythology, epic flight sequences, and a surprisingly deep coming-of-age story. The movie follows Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, a scrawny, awkward Viking teen voiced by Jay Baruchel, who doesn't quite fit in with his tribe of dragon hunters. Everything changes when he injures but spares the life of a rare dragon known as a Night Fury and names them Toothless because he thinks that he has no teeth, but he does. Their unlikely friendship becomes the heart of the film and the turning point of an age-old war. The voice cast was stacked. Gerard Butler brought the power and heart to Stoic the Vast, Hiccup's gruff but well-meaning father. America Ferrera voiced Astrid, the fierce and confident warrior in training, while Craig Ferguson, Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and Kristen Wiig rounded out the rowdy youth cast. Behind the scenes, the animation team took inspiration from real aerial dogfights, falconry, and even documentary footage of animal movement to give the dragons distinct personalities and flight physics. Toothless, in particular, was modeled with a cat-like behavior and expressive facial movements, making him feel more like a loyal pet than a fire-breathing beast. And it's true because the whole time that I watch him, I think of Toby, my black cat. One huge visual leap, Roger Deakins, a legendary cinematographer for films like Skyfall and The Shawshank Redemption, was brought on as a visual consultant. His input helped shape the film's lighting, camera movement, and realism, giving it a cinematic look rarely seen in animation at the time. The score by John Powell, which is fantastic, is another standout. It earned him an Academy Award nomination and is widely considered one of the greatest animated film scores ever. It's kind of one of the greatest film scores ever, period. With sweeping themes like Test Drive and Romantic Flight, the music elevated the emotional stakes and gave the flying scenes true liftoff. How to Train Your Dragon was a critical and commercial success, earning nearly $500 million worldwide and 2 Oscar nominations, Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score. It also set the stage for an entire trilogy, with the second and third films receiving just as much acclaim and a franchise of TV shows, shorts, and merchandise. And another fast fact, the bond between Hiccup and Toothless resonated so strongly that Toothless quickly became a new icon in animation, often now compared to classics like Bambi, Dumbo, or even E.T., but with wings. So whether it's your first rewatch or your 100th dragon ride, How to Train Your Dragon remains a soaring, emotional story about friendship, courage, and learning that sometimes everything we think we know is just waiting to be unlearned. All right. With fast forward facts down, we're going to move into what the critics said. I'm a little sniffly this episode. You'll just have to bear with me there. What the critics said. This is where we look at the first 10 top critics from Rotten Tomatoes and see what they had to say about the film. The Rotten Tomatoes score, by the way, is fantastic. Tomato meter, 99%. What means 99% of your critics gave this a positive review, and 91% on the popcorn meter means that your audience gave this a 91% positive score. It's pretty solid. you can't do any complaining if you're a filmmaker there. So let's get right into what the critics said. Derek Malcolm from London Evening Standard said, based on the book by Christina Cowell, the movie from writer-director Dean DeBois is funny, well-drawn, and imaginatively structured so that adults need have no fear about taking the kids to it. Richard Corliss from Time Magazine says it's a foolproof scheme for picture making. Take the plot elements of favorite movies, paint the concoction with bright colors so it looks like the zazziest customized car, set it running at NASCAR. Hold on. I think these glasses are kind of screwing me up. Let me start that over. I'm getting a little, my eyes are a little bothered, and I'm getting a little, whatever you want to call it, watery eyed, and things are getting real blurry on me here. It's a foolproof scheme, says Richard Corliss, for picture making. Take the plot elements of favorite movies, paint the concoction with bright colors so it looks like the zazziest customized car, set it running at NASCAR speed, and you have How to Train Your Dragon. Tim Roby from Daily Telegraph says, 3 cheers to DreamWorks for zipping it at long last. In laying aside the postmodern quips, they've rediscovered an airborne sense of joy. David Stratton says, it's all right. Okay, David, Mr. Positive review, but you might as well be Oscar the Grouch on that one. Tom Horgan from Minneapolis Star Tribune says, what we have here is an exhilarating epic that mixes comedic and touching moments with some of the best action sequences ever created with CGI animation. And Stephanie Zacharek from Salon.com says, Toothless has the one precious ingredient that's missing from so many of Hollywood's contemporary animated characters, an air of mystery. Bruce Downs, maybe, from The New Yorker, says, smartly dispensing with the usual hubbub of pop references that dot many of these films, the movie offers touching, quiet moments and imaginative, high-flying beauty. It's fantastically entertaining. Christine Camp from Film.com says, it's a Harry Potter meets Avatar adventure that should delight most children and adults. Jason Bailey from DVDTalk.com says, while no means a classic, How to Train Your Dragon is sweet, likable, fun. And then Anthony Quinn, finally, from The Independent in the UK, says, swooping visuals and knockabout comedy blend in a family entertainment that should be the Easter weekend treat. All right, that's what your critics said. Top 10 critics are all positive, even though Mr. David Stratton he was a grumpy positive, it sounds like there. Moving on now to First Time or 50th. I, to be honest with you, have not seen this movie a ton, while I have seen a ton of this movie, if that makes sense. I have watched the movie in its entirety maybe 4 or 5 times probably, but I've watched different clips, in particular the is it Taking Flight or whatever, the scene where Hiccup and Toothless fly together for the first time. I've seen that a billion times. Not a billion, but you know what I mean. So this is a film that is not one of these that I've just sat down and watched over and over and over again, but it had become one of my newer, it's become a fresh favorite for me, if I can say that. But I have really enjoyed it the several times lately that I've seen it, but I went for a long time without ever sitting down and watching this movie. It's just sometimes some movies just kind of slip through on you, and I guess at whatever point in 2015 I was busy with other stuff and watching different stuff, or I just wasn't paying as much attention to these types of films, and so it was later when I finally sat down and watched it, but I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have any super nostalgic feelings towards this when I kind of first watched it. It was just, okay, I feel like I gotta watch this because it was a very popular movie that people go on and on about, and I knew at the time that they were making, which we'll get into later, they were making Burke building Burke at Universal Studios at Epic Universe in Orlando, so I thought, like, this was a while before I would have been going there, but I knew that was coming, and I knew eventually I would want to go there, and I knew if I'm going to go there, I better watch all these movies so that I know, that I can be more familiar with that part of the park. So that's kind of what led me mostly to sit down and watch through all these. But anyway, first time or 50th, probably fifth time for me, all the way through here, as well as watching the newer remake, or the live action, if you will, as they call it. But watching that doesn't necessarily count as watching this now, does it? So I'm going to call it maybe 5 times that I've seen this. With that said, moving on to be continued. Would a sequel work for this film? And if there's a sequel, should there have been? Well, for one, as already established, this had 2 sequel films, both done very well, both a great continuation of the story. But so clearly a sequel works because it worked, and they were all critically acclaimed. Should there have been? Yeah, like when you get to the end of this movie and it's like, okay, now we've got a new relationship between Vikings and dragons. They're all coexisting together and living together and whatever, and all in harmony. And then boom, that's the end of the movie. Like, how do you not come back and go like, okay, I want to see the story of where things go now? Like, what's going to happen? How is this future of this, relationship between Vikings and dragons going to go? And so obviously you want to see that, and they knew that, and they did a good job of continuing on with that. So I think, yeah, absolutely those sequels should have been made, and clearly they worked. But I'm not going to get too much into those, because hopefully we will maybe hit those at another point. But yeah, to be continued, absolutely. And if you have watched the new, they call it live action, but it's a whole lot of CG. But if you've watched that, I'm pretty sure by the time that had released, like they go through and show all of your whatever you want to call it, the pre-screenings, or get an idea about what people think. I'm pretty sure they had already confirmed a sequel, that they were going to make the sequel in live action form for the new live action release before its actual release date. So this whole franchise is just wildly successful. I think as long as they don't overdo it somewhere, I think like it's kind of a money tree for sure. Anyway, moving right along, before we jump into the final segment, today's episode is brought to you by PrepStartsNow.com, your go-to spot for emergency and outdoor preparedness. If you're anything like me, you'd rather be prepared and not need it than need the essentials and not have them. From 72-hour emergency essentials to camping gear, car emergency essentials, multi-tools, first aid, and even home gardening supplies as you start to grow some of your own food, they've got you covered for it all. And the best part is, as a listener, you can use the promo code REWATCH to get a 15% site-wide discount, and you'll also be helping out the show as they give us a small reward for your business in the process. Head to PrepStartsNow.com/discount/rewatch. That's PrepStartsNow.com/discount/rewatch, or simply enter the code REWATCH at checkout and get prepared today. Okie dokie. Do we want to hit a recap on this real quick? All right, so let's recap it real quick and fast. Not too much on the details, but the movie starts out and you understand that it's following Hiccup, the main character, the young boy. He is in a Viking village, and he's the one Viking who's scrawny and skinny and can't hunt dragons like everybody else. The dragons attack their island to come try to steal their sheep and such. In the process of him kind of failing and messing everything up, he's the fumbly bumbly, can't do anything right, always kind of getting in the way person. He ends up shooting down this one dragon that nobody can ever see and catch and get. So nobody believes him. He ends up going out after this dragon and finds the dragon has been wrapped up with the device that he shot him with, and he goes to kill him, stab him with a knife, but he realizes he just can't do it. He doesn't have it in his heart to kill him. He thinks, that he says he looks just as scared as he was. So he cuts him loose, and the dragon kind of, gets up on him and looks like he's gonna maybe hurt him, but then he just runs off. Hiccup goes back, and I can't remember if he tries to tell anybody about it or not, but anyway, he eventually, through a series of attempts, makes friends with Toothless, the dragon, realizes that he can't fly because he's got one half of his tail that had gotten messed up in that accident when he shot him down, and so he is unable to fly. And so because Hiccup is a blacksmith kind of dude that creates things and builds things and all that, he makes him another half of his tail, and long story short, realizes that with his help, he straps Toothless up to this contraption, and with Hiccup's help, he can help Toothless fly, and they can fly together, working together. Then, in the process, because he has now learned how to relate to dragons and communicate in a way and kind of calm them and all that, and interact with them, he is now able to do that with all these other dragons that the Viking kids are learning how to kill dragons with and train with. And so he becomes the big shot because he's the big time dragon slayer guy that can basically control and take over any dragon. And then at the point where it's he's supposed to do his dragon killing, he's set up to kill the dragon, and everybody's really excited because if you win that contest with the kids, then you get to kill the dragon. And he is in the process. Something happens, and it puts Toothless in danger in the moment that he's supposed to kill this other dragon, which he doesn't want to do. And Hiccup hears and realizes that he's in danger and comes flying in and jumps in the way. And in that, his dad realizes that he's made friends with the dragon. They trap Toothless, and they're gonna basically take Toothless. I skipped the part where they find out that there is a dragon nest that's kind of all being controlled by this huge entire dragon, and they're all sort of at the mercy of this guy and bringing him food so that they can, I guess, keep surviving or whatever, so that he doesn't destroy them all. But the dad finds out about this big nest, and now they're gonna go kill all these dragons, but only a dragon can find that place, and so they're gonna use a trapped Toothless. They're gonna strap him down and put him on the ship and let him lead them there, and he does lead them there, but they end up realizing that it was way too much, that they kind of bit off more than they could chew, because it wasn't just a bunch of tiny dragons, it was this gigantic, huge dragon. And as all that's happening, all of the kids are now have now sort of become dragon wranglers, and they're riding on their dragons, and they're all coming in to fight this big dragon. And Toothless and Hiccup, the boat that Toothless is on ends up sinking, and Toothless looks like he's going to die, but Stoic, Hiccup's father, dives off into the water and breaks Toothless free, and realizes the only hope that they have at this point is for Hiccup and Toothless to fight back against this big thing. And so we get Dad saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and I'm proud of you," to Hiccup, and Hiccup gets up on Toothless, and they fly and do their thing, and they get this big entire gigantic dragon chasing them way up into the clouds, and they turn him and fly him straight down and get him chasing them, and he's getting going so fast that he's so focused on them as they're going down that he sort of just nosedives into the water and kills himself. And in the process, Hiccup, Toothless's wing thingy messes up, and they can't fly anymore, and Hiccup and Toothless both fall, and come to find out, while everybody thinks that Hiccup's dead, Toothless had him wrapped in his wings the whole time and saved him. And then at the end of the film, we realize that in that whole process, Hiccup lost his one of his legs from like the knee down, and he is now like Toothless in that both of them have a prosthetic situation. So they just have even more of a reason to relate. But that's essentially the film there. So we're going to move on now, after that quick jumbled up recap, into the final verdict. This is where we put the film to the test across 10 categories, scored on a scale from 1 to 5, and that scale looks like this. 1 is poor, 2 is weak, 3 is fair, 4 is good, and 5 is excellent. Sometimes these come with decimal points and fall somewhere in between those as well. And when we add it all up, we find out, does it fall between 10 and 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, or 40 to 50? Meaning 10 to 20 is a return, 20 to 30 is return worthy, 30 to 40 is lean rewatch, and 40 to 50 is a certified rewatchable film. Now, let's jump into story and plot. I'll say before I jump into this, usually I rate these before I do this. I have not here. So I'm going to rate them in real time for you. I might have to do some thinking here. Or I might get them wrong because I'm forcing myself to do it too fast and not spend enough time thinking about it. I don't know how I'll feel when this is over with. First category is story and plot. Is the narrative compelling and coherent? Does it still hold up on a rewatch? I think this is a great story. I think the plot is like super solid, holds up. There's no plot holes. There's nothing screwy or messed up about any of it, or well, that don't make sense because of this and that. I mean, it is an animated movie, but even then, like this is like so there's some animated movies that I feel like are animated movies and just kind of like a little bit more made for kids, and like this one feels like a really well done, solid movie that anybody can sit down and enjoy, whether it's animated or not, which is why it translated so well into the live action quote unquote version. So yes, the narrative is compelling. It sucks you in. It's very, very like edge of your seat almost kind of stuff, and it holds up repeatedly. It's a very tug at your heart, emotional film for good reason. And so for story and plot, I'm gonna kind of fanboy on this one, probably all the way down these categories, but I'm giving it 5 out of 5 on story and plot because I think it's super solid. And as a person who is very much a animal lover and knows how it feels to have a unique, one-of-a-kind bond with an animal, this movie gets me every single time. So, story and plot, I'm giving it 5 out of 5. Moving on to characters and performances. Are the characters memorable and well acted, or forgettable and flat? Characters and performances. Dang. So, Gerard Butler nails it as stoic. It's so fitting, even with his whatever he's got, a Scottish voice or wherever he's from, really fits well with the character. It sounds, even though Vikings are not Scottish, are they? They're like Norse or something. I don't know. I'm not up on all that stuff. But anyway, I think the characters and performances are fantastic. I think they're super memorable. I mean, I think the cast is incredible. The Jay Baruchel's voice for Hiccup and that kind of gee, aw, shucks, whatever is super fitting for a character who is just kind of doesn't really fit in with everybody else. He plays it great. And then not just your main characters, but like your side characters are all really great too, and they didn't phone it in at all. And you've got like some really great comedic actors who do some really solid voiceover work. And you can tell that knowing a lot of those guys, TJ Miller, was TJ Miller one of these guys? I think so. Yeah. It was like TJ Miller, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Jonah Hill, and all those guys are pals. So it like even the chemistry there is just, it's all really, really solid. I think the characters and performances are great. I think that they're 100% like memorable, almost to the point where when I watched the live action remake of this, it just didn't hit me the same way because those people that played those characters, nothing against them, but they just like they didn't give me what the others gave me. So they made those characters enough that like I didn't really want to see or hear anybody else's voice playing them. So I am giving characters and performances in this a 5 out of 5 as well. And moving on to pacing and entertainment value. Were you entertained the whole time? Did the movie keep your attention? Does it feel too slow, too rushed, or just right? I think that for pacing and entertainment value, I'm entertained the whole time when I watch this movie. It keeps my attention. I don't know that there's moments where like some movies after I've watched them once, then or a few times or whatever, it gets to a point where like there's some moments in certain films where it's like I like this film as a whole and I totally would watch it again and again and again. There's just some moments in them where I'm like, okay, this is kind of like the more boring part of the film. I could just go ahead and get past that part. Like that is in this film for me. So I'm going to give pacing and entertainment value a 4 out of 5 because it doesn't get the 5 for me. Dialogue and quotability. Are there iconic and memorable lines? Do you still quote it? Does the dialogue feel natural and cringy? Dialogue and quotability. Yeah, I think there's memorable lines. I think there's like some hilarious lines. I love the here's your mom's breastplate. He gives him a shield or whatever, or a helmet. Is it a helmet? I think, yeah. It's like here he gives him a Viking helmet. It was like it's half of your mom's breastplate. And then later on he says, "Thanks for the breast hat." It's just a funny moment. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this that that's quotable. But there's a lot of good, funny comedy stuff in this as well. I think the dialogue's great. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 on dialogue and quotability. I don't know too much that I can go on and talk about with all of it, but I think like there's a lot that makes the film in that, and so yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 on dialogue and quotability. Now we move on to soundtrack and score. Does the music enhance the film or date it? Does it elevate the emotional tone of the film or feel out of place? Is it iconic or generic? Y'all, for those of you who know me from music stuff and you haven't found me, if you're not just someone who has found me from randomly coming across these podcasts, but you do know me from doing music and paying attention to music and liking music stuff, this is an incredible score to this film. Like, there's not a whole lot of films that have music that I want to just go listen to apart from the film. Like, there's films that have great music that the marriage works really well between the film and the music, and it's memorable music, but it's not always music that, I'm sorry that my nose is running. It's not always music that I want to go drive down the road and listen to, or listen to an orchestra play on a YouTube video at, the Kennedy Center or whatever. The music for this is totally that for me. Like, I could listen and listen and listen and listen. I think it's fantastic. I mean, like, it's just iconic is what it is to me. Like, when I can randomly out of nowhere give you the melody of themes in a film, it's iconic. I don't know any other way to describe it or say it. So yes, it 100% enhances the film. I don't think it dates it at all. I think this is like a timeless score, an iconic and timeless score. Does it elevate the emotional tone of the film? 100%. It does not feel out of place. So for soundtrack, there's the music's fantastic throughout the whole film. But the moment that Hiccup and Toothless have their first flight together, and you hear the way that John Powell weaves the two themes together and lets what's happening on screen determine which character's theme he's leaning into, the moment that freaking Hiccup's wings come out and he goes into that, like, you know, whatever you want to call it, animal air brake kind of situation, and the theme kicks in, it's like the most freaking epic thing ever. And I could sit and watch it a million times, and just enjoy that moment repeatedly. Anyway, soundtrack and score is without a doubt a 5 out of 5 for me. I think this is on the level of like incredible all-time great scores for film. Moving along to cinematography and visual style. Is it visually engaging or stylish? Regardless of effects, budget, or genre, do the camera work and effects still impress, or do they look dated or clunky? This is a very original looking film. I mean, well, it's very much a DreamWorks animated film. Like, DreamWorks has that style about them, just like Pixar has their own style about them. Like, you can tell it's a DreamWorks film, but it's beautifully done. The framing is beautiful. The shots, the animated shots are beautiful. Some of the, there's some incredible shots. A lot of the flying, the way that they, that it follows the Toothless and Hiccup flying together and rolls with them, and the landscape and all of it, it's just really, really well done. I think it's very engaging, and I think that it is very unique in its detail, and I mean, it is animated as if you were trying to get epic shots with a camera, and that is like what you want in a film of like this. It's what you want in a film a lot of times anyway, but it's like, it's just, it fits so perfectly. The camera, yeah, I like it. There's not cameras. I mean, I don't think they did any of that like virtual camera stuff, building another world and then later on, you know, doing camera work. But it is very impressive in how it looks, and I think it is timeless in its animation, in the same way that I would say like Toy Story is timeless in its animation. I think the same with this. It's not going to, years from now, I don't think we're going to feel like, man, like it's getting so much better and that looks so old. It's not like watching an old Mickey Mouse cartoon and then watching something now. It's not like that. So cinematography and visual style, I think they did a super, super, super solid job. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Now moving on to originality and creativity. Does the film feel fresh and inspired, or like something you've seen 100 times? Was the film groundbreaking or formulaic? Does it bring something unique? I think it feels fresh and inspired. I think it doesn't feel like something I've seen 100 times. It feels, from an animated perspective, very much, like I said, it feels very DreamWorks and in nature, Shrek vibes as far as the animation goes. But it just feels like so much care was given to this film in so many ways that it feels like something kind of off unto itself. Like, it's, again, we'll talk about this later, it's so sucking you into that world. It does such a good job. They have built it out and created something with this that allowed them to like build an entire land in a Orlando theme park with it. So originality and creativity, I think it was a groundbreaking film. I don't think it's formulaic. I think it's very unique. There's some things that may not seem super original, but also many things that are and I think from a creative aspect, it's very well done. So originality and creativity, I'm gonna drop this in at a 4 out of 5. Moving on to theme and message. Is there a deeper takeaway, and does it explore ideas that resonate today? I think there's a lot of messaging in this film. I don't think the film is trying to be preachy or anything like that, or be messaging in any kind of way like that. But I think there's a lot that you could take away from this film. The film is very, it's like some Pocahontas vibes, you know, in that Pocahontas is very us and them, and you're not supposed to, you know, befriend them because we hate them and they hate us, and they want to kill us and we want to kill them, and there's a lot of kind of those vibes in this. I remember, so as I was driving home today, I was thinking, oddly enough, I was thinking about The Little Mermaid, like thinking about the theming and messaging of this film. For whatever reason, my mind went to The Little Mermaid when King Triton's like, you know, you went to the surface, the separation between people, the water people and the surface people, and all that. Anyway, there's that, but also, I'm not going to get into too much on here, because I don't know when someone might see this. Someone might see this for the first time years from now and not know what I'm talking about. But at this point in time, the theming of this, it does make me... So, I've thought a lot about the current day as things are, and how people are pushed to think things more in group form, you know what I mean? Like, there's a leader of this group, and you're pushed by the leader of this group to think this way, and a leader of this group, and you're pushed by a leader of this group to think this way, and they want you to think this about them, and they want you to think this about them, and you know, like, I feel like I have to be this way because this or that, whatever. And I'm watching this movie, and I'm thinking about the huge dragon that's like down in the big nest, and the other dragons don't necessarily, it's not like they're doing what they're doing because they're wanting to, it's not like they have a desire, like my true underlying reasoning, it's not like their true underlying reasoning is to hurt the Vikings in doing what they're doing, but they feel like they gotta, like, the only thing that they know to do is to steal these sheep and things and take them to this big, you know, dragon that they're scared of to satisfy him. And I was just thinking about, like, a world that we live in where oftentimes people are so concerned with, you know, pleasing a particular either person or group or whatever, that they would you know, treat other people a certain way simply so that they can make sure that they fit in with whatever here, and don't take any heat from this for doing, you know, there's a lot that's gone into my mind as I watch this, but I think there's I don't think it's intentional, and I'm looking for so much further into this than I'm thinking anybody ever meant. But I love the theming and messaging of not judging a book by its cover, and realizing that once you get past differences or what you think you know about whatever the other thing is, person is, group is, whatever, that come to find out, like, there's a problem that can be solved together so that everybody can live in harmony, but like that problem's never going to be solved unless people come together to solve that problem. And that's kind of what happened in this, you know what I mean? Like the dragons and there's just, if you've seen the film, you understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to go on and on forever and ever about theme and message. I can just tell you like what all, you can clearly understand what it all is in my head around, you know, like division and kind of othering groups and things and refusing to accept that maybe everything isn't exactly the way that you think it is with other people or other things or whatever, and having a willingness to accept that you could be wrong about somebody, that you might have misjudged, that there's something leading somebody or something to do something that they don't necessarily maybe even really want to have to be doing or whatever. Sometimes all it takes is someone stepping in to help, and that's kind of what happened here by accident and then by choice. Anyway, I'm gonna move off of theme and message, but I'm gonna score theme and message because I obviously had a reason to ramble. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. Moving on to cringe factor. Any jokes, effects, or moments that haven't aged well or were always bad, moments that make you wince now, campy, cheesy, bad effects, outdated jokes that aren't funny, etc. Cringe factor. I don't think there's a lot of cringe in this film. It's an animated film, and I think they do a really solid job of taking an animated film and giving you the least cringe possible, and giving you such a solid story that even as an animated film, it's like, again, I think it's like a timeless story. It's in many ways allegorical, and it's hard for me to, you know, see a lot of cringe in this. I'm not saying that there's not any, but I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 on the cringe factor. I think like I'm okay putting it at a 4. I'm not gonna put it at a 5. I don't know that I've really put anything at a 5 yet, have I? But yeah, I'm gonna put it at a 4. That's where I'm in real time putting it. Moving on to nostalgia and rewatchability. Does it hold up to your memory of it? Does it still matter today? Is it timeless, or has it aged poorly? Does a rewatch ruin the magic, and would you honestly watch it again? Does it hold up to your memory of it? Well, I don't have a real long memory of it, to be honest with you. But every time I watch it, I enjoy it just as much. I can say that. Does it still matter today? Yeah, I think this franchise has had such a impact. It's had an impact enough, like I said, to spawn a quote-unquote live-action version and an entire land at a theme park. So, yeah, I think it matters today. I do think it's a timeless film, a timeless property, if you will. I don't think it's aged poorly in 15 years, or will it? I don't think at all. A rewatch doesn't ruin the magic. A rewatch, every time I rewatch this, I'm just more and more, you know, it just more and more like pulls at my heartstrings for particularly reasons of, you know, seeing his interaction with his dad and that relationship, how it changes over time, and then his relationship with Toothless, because like I said, I have I know how it feels to have a very special bond with an animal, and yeah, that stuff means a lot to me every time I watch this. And would you watch it again? Absolutely. I own the whole trilogy. I haven't bought the new one yet. I don't know if I will, but I have the entire animated trilogy. I am going to give this from nostalgia and rewatchability perspective. You wouldn't think it, but I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. I don't do that very often for that category, but I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. And now, before we move on to the scoring of all this, or the adding all this up and see where it falls, I'm going to hit, like I said earlier, I kept alluding we were going to get into the theme park stuff. I'm going to touch on this bonus category, which is typically, could a theme park ride based on this film make sense? And if so, what kind of ride would it likely be? It's hard to answer the question as it's written, or as I have it written here, or as I would typically have it written, because there is an entire theme park land. And so I thought I would maybe talk a little bit about my experience at that part of at that land, and what maybe I would have liked to see in addition to what's there, or maybe different. They have, if you've never been, at Epic Universe, which is a Universal Orlando property, there's a handful of themed lands there in that whole park, and you go through a portal, and there's essentially one way in, one way out for the most part. There's a little side thing, but it's not supposed to be like technically an entrance. But you can't go from land to land to land. You have to go in this land, out the portal, and then to get back. So there's like a central area. It's pretty cool because it sets it up almost like every time you enter an area, you are going through a portal to that place. And if you want to go back to somewhere else, you got to go back out that portal and leave that place. You can't just hop, skip, and jump around like you would at, say, like a Disney's Magic Kingdom or anything like that. So it is set up to look like Burke, and it is so fantastically themed. It looks like you're walking right into the movie. I mean, like right down to the dragons, the sheep, all of the artwork and things that it's just really, really, really super cool. The whole, it is so well done and so immersive that when I went with my sister, we were both like, I think we could like spend, if not definitely spend like half of an entire park day in that one section of the park, but possibly even spend an entire day in there, just taking in all the details, eating all the different foods, doing all the shows and the rides and all that stuff that are just part of that one section of the park. If you haven't been, it's really fantastic. From a ride perspective, they have one ride that is something that is not really special, in that it's not original to that park. It's a ride that is seen in a lot of other places, and they've just sort of themed that particular ride to How to Train Your Dragon. But then they have a roller coaster that is super awesome. It's supposed to be like a what do they call it? Wing. It's supposed to be like you're learning how to fly. It's a test thing, but the track is built in a way that it feels less like a roller coaster and more like you're on the back of a dragon as it moves. And so they've done a really good job with movement on that. And on top of that, it weaves through the whole entire park. So that one ride, kind of like no matter where you are in that section of the park, you can see a portion of that track to that particular ride. It's sort of like a staple ride in that land. But it's really good, really cool. I think we rode it like 3 times when we were there, and not because we didn't have anything else to do, because we were like, it's like not a thrill coaster either, which is kind of wild. Like if you've ever ridden like Slinky Dog Dash at Disney World, it's like I'm getting into theme park stuff that maybe nobody's real familiar with, but if you've ever ridden like Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, I think is what it's called, over at Hollywood Studios. I mean, not Hollywood Studios, Islands of Adventure for Universal. If you've ridden that and you've ridden Slinky Dog Dash, this is kind of like mashing those two together. It's a little less thrilling than Hagrid's as far as speed goes, but it's such a fun ride. It's a very, very well themed ride. It's a whole lot of fun. Then there's a ride with this where you're in like a Viking ship and you're going through these water areas, and you have like a water cannon and you're shooting different targets as you go through, and everything's made of wood. But there are some targets, like it's some kind of fire drill thing. You're supposed to be like putting out these little fires and shooting with this water cannon. But there's some sections, if you shoot the wrong target, it'll blow water back at you. People get soaking wet on this ride. I didn't get to ride it because it's not that I didn't get to. I just didn't have any desire to ride it while I was there. But it was fun to watch other people coming on and off of it and talking about it and all that. But I think they did a really, really incredible job theming that section of the park. I think the one ride that I rode in there out of the 3 that they have was great. They have a really solid show that involves Toothless, that has a huge animatronic Toothless on cables that is ridden by a human being, and it's a very, immersive and magical feeling show. And then they have a Toothless meet and greet where you get to meet Toothless, and it's such an incredible animatronic someone is controlling, where he is interacting with you, and right down to facial expressions. It's really, really wild. We didn't get in line and get all the way up there to meet him, but we were close enough where we could just watch other people meet him and interact with this animatronic thing. But they have Hiccup standing there, a guy that is a couple people that are really, really, really solid at Hiccup impressions, and it's very, sucking you right into the movie. It's like being in it, and pretty magical thing. I say magical in that not because it's real, magical in that they do a really good job of bringing the magic to life from the film. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what, if I could think of something that would be something I would add to that area of the park. I think it would be like an indoor type of thing, very similar to the Avatar's Flight of Passage over at Hollywood Studios, Disney. Being on the back of where in that you're on the back of a banshee as an avatar person, but it's, you get the feeling of flying, and it's very well done with the hydraulics and the big screen that surrounds you and all that. I think you could retheme something like that technology into something like this where you're riding Toothless. It would be awesome. But as far as adding something to what's already there in the park that's themed after How to Train Your Dragon, that'd be the only thing that I think that I would see added that would add to what's there. I would probably change one of the rides that's there, to be honest with you. But anyway, it's really, really, really fantastic, really well themed. The characters are incredible. The people that are coming out dressed as these characters and acting like these characters and interacting with you as these characters, they just roam the land. They've got little bitty dragons that come out that are like Boston Dynamic style robots, but they're made to look like Toothless's babies. It's really, really, really cool. If you ever get a chance, I know we're talking about movies here, but we are talking about How to Train Your Dragon. And if you ever get a chance to go to Epic Universe, if you're a fan of How to Train Your Dragon, go there and experience the Isle of Berk section of the park. It really is something special to see. Anyway, now that is all down, let's take a look, go down the scores here and see where we end up. All right. Let's start off with story and plot, 5 out of 5. Characters and performances, 5 out of 5. Pacing and entertainment value, 4 out of 5. Dialogue and quotability, 4 out of 5. Soundtrack and score, 5 out of 5. Cinematography and visual style, 4 out of 5. Originality and creativity, 4 out of 5. Theme and message, 4.5 out of 5. Cringe factor, 4 out of 5. And nostalgia and rewatchability, 5 out of 5. Putting this at 44.5 out of 50, which makes this very comfortably fall into the certified rewatchable category. And I kind of felt like that was going to be the case with this. I didn't feel like it was going to be wishy-washy with me at all. Like I say every time, that's my subjective score, and you might not feel that way at all, but that's okay. That's what makes art, and I guess what makes everybody different. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of this film, of this franchise, and what DreamWorks and Universal is doing with all of it, and I'm excited to see what they continue to do with that stuff. With that down, that is where we close this thing out. I appreciate you for watching, and if you're on YouTube, let me know in the comments, if you want to, how you feel about the film. What do you think about the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Have you been to Universal? Have you seen the land that they built there? If you are on just listening from one of the podcast platforms, I appreciate you. If you would like, if you haven't yet, follow and keep track of, get notifications when new stuff comes out, new episodes. If you want to follow on social media, you can follow Instagram at Rewatch or Return on Instagram, where you will see basically me just post some stuff about this, because that's all it's going to be about. I appreciate you, and thank you for hanging on and watching till the end. I apologize for my stuffy nose and my watery eyes, as I've got some sort of allergy crap or something going on right now, which is super enjoyable. Anyway, going to close this thing out, and I'll see you next week.